Hello, I'm John Evernold, director of Baskin, and you're listening to Without Your Head.
Hello, I am the father from Baskin, Mehmet Cerrahoğlu. This is Without Your Head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
That would make me terrible, Troy.
Yes, and joining us right here, and it's nearly when the show is supposed to start, we have Nicola Newton on the line.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Good.
Excellent. Now we're going to talk about your new short, Pigskin, which you co-wrote and you did the cinematography for. And since it is a short, sometimes it's hard to say what it's about without giving too much away. But can you let people know what it's about?
Yeah. So it's a body horror short film that follows a young girl with extreme body issues, and she's haunted by kind of a physical manifestation of these insecurities, and it kind of leads to her ultimate demise.
Mm-hmm. And I like that about the short was, it's her vision of her body, not necessarily anyone else's, because there isn't anyone portrayed in the film, like bullying her or making fun of her or anything.
Correct. Yes.
Which actually is really unusual for the boyfriend role in stories like this. It's usually they're portrayed as like an ass or something, but it's really original in this one.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome. Now, it's premiering Saturday at Screamfest.
Yes.
Is that a?
We're very.
Go on. Sorry.
So yeah, we're very excited about that. That's both of our dreams. Jake is over the moon. We're really happy to be there. Happy that they let us come show our film. We hope to get everybody else we can get out there. It's gonna be fun, I think.
Yeah.
You've made other short horror films before, so why do you think this one made it in?
I don't. Well, I hope that it kind of comes across as this kind of a different take on horror in terms of I think it's coming from a different perspective that I've seen, where it's coming from a young girl who who inflicts all this gruesome horror on herself, and I think that kind of it kind of touches base with a lot of audience members who may also kind of know where she's coming from in terms of her insecurities, and that it's a very, universally personal issue that a lot of people deal with.
That's very true, because whether female or not, I think she's very normal looking and seems very normal. And
right.
She's not super popular, but she's still dating this guy who's a star, and her friend seems really cool, but she seems, like you mentioned, very relatable. And so anybody with security problems could probably watch this and really feel for her.
Yeah, we really struck gold with our leading lady, Isadora Oliva. She really brought this kind of whole new dimension of relatability to Laurie's character that honestly we were just really struggling to find. And when we found her, we knew she was our girl. She pulled it off, and we were tremendously happy with how she, brought our script to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because definitely cheerleader, you can cast type someone as like, here's just the cheerleader.
Exactly.
But your other films, I'm not trying to downplay how the other films are, because I'm only seeing like a few screenshots from your website, which is nicolanewton.net, and they look beautiful.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, when I heard you were the cinematographer, because when I was watching it before I knew that, was how professional and interesting the movie looks. The short film looks.
Yeah, we put a huge, that was our, to pull off something like that, I think you really have to immerse the crowd. And I think that the main part of that is kind of creating a visual landscape that really sets the tone and immerses the audience, and so they don't, they aren't taken out of it. And I think, using, just researching, different kinds of, films that kind of take an homage to the 70s and 80s horror flicks to kind of capture that era.
Mm-hmm. No, this might be an odd question, but for people out there who maybe don't know, what is the role of the cinematographer?
So the cinematographer basically is in charge of, well, I guess Jake and I both together, as a director and a cinematographer, we work together in designing the shots, designing the visual story that kind of is that supports the narrative, and that's a huge role for the cinematographer to kind of bring it to life on screen. So I basically direct the crew in terms of lighting and gripping, and I also camera operated, which a cinematographer doesn't always have to do, but sometimes they do as well. But yeah.
What about cinematography interested you as something to pursue?
Sorry, what was that? I missed that.
What was it about cinematography that interested you in something to pursue in filmmaking?
Right. So I actually grew up overseas, and my mother is a photographer, and so I kind of grew up with my eye through the viewfinder, and I was always drawn to photography and capturing the moment and capturing anything that I could around me. It was instinctive to me, and that kind of transformed into video and film, and kind of capture in transforming that passion for photography into cinematography.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Jake Hammond a couple times, who you co-wrote the movie with, and he directed it. And how long have you guys been working together? How did you meet?
So we both went to the Florida State University Motion Picture Arts, and we both in the same class. We have been working together since 2012, and we both kind of were drawn to each other's styles. I think he had shot a previous film of mine, and I had shot a previous film of his that were independent of each other. And then we kind of came together and collaborated on this larger project. Jake, he has a huge affinity for campy horror films, and I think I strayed more towards psychological type thrillers, and we kind of, have found a happy medium in between those two. And I think that both of our strengths kind of complemented each other in that way.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's good for like a pair who are working together on something creative, where you have to have something similar, but also can't be totally the same, or else you don't disagree and improve something.
Exactly. No, I think it's really important for the collaborators to have a different kind of worldview in terms of how they want to bring this project to life. And I think that it can only help to have more opinions and more ideas, and that helps as long as you don't have the exact same ideas. So, we were both bringing different elements, trying different things, see what works, see what doesn't. And I think that we were both very open and honest towards each other, and trying to figure out the best way that we could bring Pigskin onto the screen.
Mm-hmm. Now it premieres Saturday at Screamfest, but it's been at other festivals. What was it like seeing it for the first time with an audience?
It was, honestly, when we first screened it, we had absolutely no idea what people were going to think, because it kind of draws you in a little bit into kind of a low key horror, but you're not really expecting kind of the ending, which I won't spoil, but is definitely more gruesome than the rest of the film, and can be quite shocking to certain audience members. And of course, that's what we like about this kind of horror, kind of shocking people. But definitely we're worried about the response, what people would think. And it was awesome. It was just incredible watching it with an audience who just supported us so much and just loved it. And that was a great feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It really is very thought-provoking. And again, to your actress, if it had been someone else, it could have come off as cheesy and gory. And it sounds like you guys were really aware of that.
Exactly. Especially in the writing stages, when we were going back and forth on how we can, create the scariest, most natural, but not coming across as, exactly cheesy or stereotypical. So, and I think a lot of that was just kind of working with people and seeing how different actors kind of brought different things to the table. And definitely our character Lori, especially on script, there's not a lot of dialogue, so it's not a lot of exposition in terms of, getting to know the character. So it really takes a lot from the actor to kind of embody that character. And when we found Isadora, I mean, obviously we knew she was perfect.
And it's amazing to me. I'm looking now. It's only 14 minutes long. And as I was watching it, it felt like more, but not in a, oh my God, when will this end way? It just felt like there was a lot contained in a very short amount of time.
Right. And that was another struggle for us too, is, how do we build up enough tension to, totally engulf people so that the payoff is good enough for them, and, short form, filmmaking can be tough sometimes in that way, but when you find a good balance, I think it really helps.
Also, something interesting is I've seen shorts where there's, I don't want to say too much, but there's a figure of mystery who you're like, why? You have a mysterious figure that I don't know if, and I'm usually pretty intuitive with this stuff, but I don't think I've quite figured out. But I don't feel like, why is this happening? It's a waste of time or whatever. It's more intriguing to me than just, just toss this thing in there.
Yes. And that's another thing too, it still is a little bit up in the air in terms of how different audience members kind of view this figure, view her haunting man. And, I think for the most part, people kind of people understand, what I guess we were going for. But, a lot of the time it works for people when they think it's something different, and sometimes that works for them. But that was another issue too that we were kind of dealing with, was kind of creating the rules of, this figure, the horror aspect of, what she can and can't do without being punished by this figure. And that was, the development in itself.
Yeah. You just mentioned so much that I find interesting. Is that, what goes through your mind? Is that like a rewarding thing if someone comes up with a totally different idea of what he represents or what he is than either of you thought of?
I have to think about that, because I have gotten some responses are way off, and it's interesting. I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's fine. But I think it's also, I think what's most rewarding to us is how it affects people, and what they interpret from it doesn't matter in that sense, as long as they kind of have that same feeling, as long as we're still kind of bringing that type of emotion towards them, how they're processing it, and et cetera.
What is it about short films that interest you? And it seems like it's become more popular over the last 5 years or so.
Right. I think obviously, for one, it's a lot easier on the budget for independent filmmakers, and it can kind of I think it's easier to access for people as well. You can just kind of put it up online, and people can spend 5 minutes looking at your video and then get sucked in for 15 minutes. Or, it could be a 2-minute long video, and it's still it could still be as rewarding as a feature-length film, but without needing all those other resources that you would need for a feature.
And besides the film festivals, where do the shorts go afterwards?
So usually, it just depends on how well they've done the festival circuit. I think, end goal, maybe a lot of the times people would want kind of the idea to be picked up by some kind of distributor, or, I guess there could be kind of two routes. Either one that kind of lives, it's finally debuted online so that people can view it everywhere. For instance, right now it's just in the festival circuit, so it's not online where people can view it. So eventually it will end up there. But I guess the end goal is usually that, maybe someone strikes fancy with it and wants to help you make a feature. And that's where Jake and I are at this point. We are kind of in the midst of kind of picking Pigskin and developing a feature. And we're in the very early stages of writing, but that's definitely something that we are going towards.
Would it be a feature of Pigskin or a totally different feature? Just the Pigskin is showing like what you guys can do.
No, it would definitely be a Pigskin feature.
Oh, very interesting.
So we actually have a question here from Duck Nixon and Seth Hayes. They are curious about, what do you do when you start writing a script? How do you literally, what do you do to set about writing a script?
And so is that going on to a feature or just a short in general?
I think probably going with the short.
Well, I think in Jake and I's case, we both, we had this image in our head and that we wanted to kind of revolve a story around it. And he came to me, he kind of had this one image. The ending, the final sequence is what he kind of, in a very vague sense, had in his mind. And we kind of just elaborated on that. We explored, all these different kinds of options. And then, I don't know, you just kind of start piecing things together from what you like and what you want to have. I mean, it's a complete, kind of learning process in itself. You rewrite and rewrite and rewrite, and it can be completely different than what you start with.
You said it was kind of it is a universal theme, but is there anything in the short that is actually personal to you or Jake?
I mean, sure, Laura's character, I feel like can relate to a lot of young women. I feel like body insecurities, body image, just in general, can range and touch people in all different kinds of ways. Personally, I feel like I sympathize incredibly with Laurie. I empathize with her. I feel her pain. I know I feel like I can understand what she's going through, obviously. I feel like both Jake and I have been there at that point where, we're insecure about something, and then we kind of morph that into a reality and a nightmare into our script.
Where can you guys follow the movie and online and your guys' future projects?
Sorry, what was that?
Where can you follow you guys online for Pigskin and your future projects?
So we're on a bunch of different social media sites. We're on Facebook. You can find us at Pigskin. You can look it up and we'll be there. We also are at www.pigskinsshortfilm.com, and we're also on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Isadora. Now, is that how you envisioned the character, or was her involvement? Did that change the actual script at all?
I don't think anything ended up actually changing the script, but I think that there was this other dimension that we just couldn't grasp, and she kind of, when she brought it to screen, we were like, what? That's what we were looking for. That's exactly it. It's something that it was kind of intangible for us to think until she showed it to us, basically. And we were like, yes, that's exactly what we were going for. She killed it. She was amazing,
Mm-hmm. And I also had to mention the music, which I thought was a perfect fit, especially for the idea of kind of a throwback to the 80s.
Yeah. No, we were very fortunate to get both Desire and Chromatics to, they're from the same record label. And so they were very generous in letting students use their music for free. And that was amazing because it fits so perfectly. And it's something like that. It's hard to compose it yourself, obviously, on a student budget. And so I think it just kind of brought a whole other kind of element to the piece, having the songs.
Yeah. Did you have to go through a bunch of different songs before you found the right one?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think even beforehand, we were drawn to the very synthy kind of poppy 80s and 70s music that kind of is happy, but a little, there's some other kind of emotional depth there as well. And once we kind of stumbled upon Chromatics and Desire, we knew like that was the kind of tone we were going for. And there were a bunch of different songs that we loved from both of them, and finally found the right ones that fit for us.
Yeah. The last few years, we've seen a few stories that are have the feel of like an 80s film. Why do you think that is? Is it just the young directors? That's what they grew up watching, and that's what they want to see on the screen, or?
Yeah, it is. It's surprising to see so many come back. I love it. It's awesome. It's such
Me
a
too.
great. I think it's just such a great era in terms of just the look, the feeling. It brings that kind of nostalgic element to it. That's kind of awesome because a lot of you have a lot of people who are huge fans of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and other kind of teen 70s and 80s movies, and it kind of brings back that kind of feeling, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you always a horror movie fan?
Yeah, definitely horror, thriller, anything that kind of. I was totally drawn to films that made me uncomfortable, made me squirm, and that I could read the entire audience feeling the same way. It's a very powerful kind of feeling when you can be so disgusted by something, but also appreciate how beautiful it could be. And I think that combination has always drawn me in and has always been attractive to me.
Right there with you. What's some of the darker movies that you enjoy that other people might go, why did she watch this?
One movie in particular Jake and I are huge fans of is an Australian horror film called The Loved Ones, which it's not very well known, but it's amazing. It is incredible. It has a slow build up of kind of like a thriller, and then just gets insane by the end. And I've tried to show it to other people, and it is just too much for them sometimes. But there's something about it that I just love seeing it. I love seeing the gore. I just love that combination. And for example, we love Carrie too, and It Follows. Both of those are just huge inspirations for us as well.
So what's the name of the Australian one again? Because now I want to find it.
It's called The Loved Ones.
Yeah, I wrote it down myself.
It's amazing. I would recommend everyone to watch it.
What are some of the ones you guys disagree on? Something that you like, he doesn't like, or vice versa?
Yeah, I know I'm not too much into I enjoy them. They're fun, but it's not something that I live for. Is the very, very campy horror films. Jake loves slasher movies, any kind of that kind of thing, and it's fun, it's exciting, but it's not something that I'm naturally drawn to in order for something that I would create myself. It's not something that I would see. And then Jake doesn't necessarily like the kind of more slow-paced, kind of thriller-esque stuff that sometimes I would like.
Mm-hmm.
Does he like Chud?
Yeah.
This is an argument between me and Neil earlier. He was saying it's great.
Yes, I am a big fan of Chud, which is coming out on Blu-ray for the first time next month.
Okay, awesome.
Chud really needs a Blu-ray release with commentary and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
Very happy about this. So you guys disagree on some of the movies, and so is it fun when you find something that you both like?
Yeah, and when we both, and it's, for example, one of us sees that thing, we'll usually know the other person will love it too. We both share this kind of affinity for just awesome gore, and that has that balance that we both like. And we love it. We'll say to each other, we have to watch that film because we'll both go crazy for it.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the best gore?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not the best story, what's the movie that both of you can agree on best gore, at least that you agree on?
Best score. Oh gosh, wow. Honestly, we fell in love with the It Follows score. It was something that Jake had the CD, or he made a mixtape of it. We would drive around listening to it. It was amazing.
Seth loves that too.
Yes.
He's all about it. He's huge. It is excellent.
Yeah.
He's always like, listen. Yeah. One of our friends said. He's a budding filmmaker. He hopes.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, yourself being a young filmmaker, someone even younger or less experienced, what kind of advice would you give them who would like to be a filmmaker?
I think it's just Well, it depends. There's all these different routes that you can be for a filmmaker. If it's a production, if you want to be on production, I would say get out there, start volunteering on set, start getting that experience. And if it's more pre-production development type things, I would just say write all you can and get as much feedback as you can too, because that's where you really start growing, is when you start incorporating other people's opinions and really understanding, taking that criticism and evolving from that.
What if he wants to do everything? Because I know you're listening. That is weird.
then both. That's kind of where I am. I know, because I know I want to be on set, but I also want to be developing my own films as well. And so, it's both right now. So for example, I'm freelancing. I'm running around doing all types of sets, but I'm trying to also find time for myself to, write on the side.
Mm-hmm. Was this the first short that you wrote on?
That I wrote?
Yeah.
I had written 2 shorts beforehand in film school, and then a couple before outside of film school, but we don't have to talk about those.
Fair enough. I was going to ask, are they anywhere to be seen, but maybe you don't want them to be seen?
The other shorts on my website that I wrote, Bloodhound, it's on my website. Mm-hmm. I can, if anybody wanted to see that, they could for sure ask me for the password. That's another kind of, it's a very slow building kind of thriller that kind of ends in a similar way in terms of shock and gore.
Mm-hmm. Well, if anyone does, I would like to watch it. So maybe we get
me too.
I for sure.
I was
I would love to send you
the three of us would be all over that.
Absolutely, I'd love to send you it.
Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely looking forward to that. And I hope everyone, if Pigskin is being played at a festival near them, I hope they go out and see it, because it's really great. And another cool thing about the shorts is you can watch several at a festival at once without taking all your time watching a feature.
Exactly.
And also, not that this applies to Pigskin, but if it's not so great, it's going to be over soon. So
exactly. That's another thing as well.
Yeah, you don't feel bad.
Yeah, you haven't invested that much time, so you're safe.
Exactly.
You don't feel bad if you happen to get up and walk out. So you can finish it. Yeah. So again, you can find we'll have all the links up on the website where you can find Pigskin and everything you guys are up to. So it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
I'm back anytime.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Kane Hodder, Victor Crowley, Jason from Friday the 13th. You're listening to withoutyourhead.com.